news. I mean, the national news is front and center right now with Cohen. Brett, you've probably been busy all day here, in the studio doing what you have to do to make a radio station come on the air. Have you been able to follow any of this Cohen stuff?
Well, thanks to our internet issues here at the station, I wasn't able to watch any of it. Troubleshooting that, and then, of course, the issue you're troubleshooting doesn't allow you to watch it. Yes, so the only thing I've heard is that apparently AOC just questioned Cohen, and it sounded like it was pretty good.
She really did great. I mean, her line of inquisition, I just heard it, her line of inquiry, I should say. It's not quite an inquisition. Her line of inquiry was, hey, did you said Donald Trump lied about the valuation of his properties? Did he make any of those lies? Did he put any of those lies into his submission to insurance companies by any chance? Like, do you think he committed insurance fraud? And then do you think that his the way he valued his golf course in New York was something we should look further into? And then asked on 3 different occasions, do you think we would benefit by seeing his tax returns? And so she was sort of going down the tax return route. It was an impressive line of inquiry, and I thought a super helpful one. Boy, hey, I've got a couple other invitations, including because I do want to talk more about Cohen. I'd love to hear people's thoughts too if they've been watching 952-946-6205. Or if you want to talk a little bit about healthcare for all and single payer coverage and so on, like Ken and Carol are up to. Be glad to talk about that. But just want to let you know, if you're wondering what to do for dinner tonight, and you're thinking, you know what, I've got a hankering for some Chipotle. Now, Brett, I bet that happens to you on occasion. You say to yourself, I don't know what they put in that chicken meat over at Chipotle, but it has a draw to you. It's like a animalistic desire to go get some Chipotle. If that's happening to you tonight, and you're going to get Chipotle anyway, go to the one on York Avenue in Edina, over by sort of by Southdale Mall. Go to that one between 5 o'clock and 9 o'clock tonight, because there's a great little fundraiser happening over there where all you have to do is just go buy your food and tell them that you're there for the Nyong Road fundraiser. And it's this great program for kids in Africa. It's a school program for girls in Africa, and it's just fantastic. All you do is buy your meal, and 1/3 of the money you spend, 33%, goes to fund the school needs for these for these kids, and it's a fabulous thing. I'm going to go over there and have dinner. That's where I'm going to spend my dinner time tonight and dinner money for my once a month Chipotle outing that I get to have. So I'd encourage you to do the same thing. 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock tonight. Head on over there if you're thinking about it, or if you're thinking, I don't know what I'm going to have for dinner, and you're like, ooh, maybe I'll grab Chipotle. It's only at that one though, the one over on York. So go over there and let 1/3 of your purchase, throw on some guacamole this time and feel good about it. Pay that extra $2 for the guacamole, knowing that 66 cents of that money goes to those kids in that program. So it's fantastic, because that's the kind of thing that that people in Minnesota do. It's the kind of thing that people like to support and like to be a part of, because there's a generous spirit, especially among people who are progressively minded. We want to see people all over the world thrive, and we want to share equally with those. So it's a good thing to do. That in contrast to what we heard from Michael Cohen about Donald Trump. It had me thinking. Brett, are you ready with that little clip that I sent you? The little presidential statement. Could you be? Indeed. Because it had me thinking way back into the 1970s when I was just a kid, and I remember the very famous statement from Richard Milhouse Nixon, where he famously says, "I'm not a crook." Now, in my mind, I'd conflated that all together with him in Roger Stone-like style, putting his 2 fingers above his shoulders and shaking his head and saying, "I'm not a crook." That's actually a mashup of some of the Nixon's greatest hits in my mind. But here's the clip that Richard Nixon says at a press conference. I think it is. I think he's before the press, and he just decides to riff on the investigation going on. And listen to this in light of the way that the Republicans today were responding to Cohen, and the way that Donald Trump has responded to the investigation into hacking by Russians. This is Nixon from, I think, 1971.
And I want to say this to the television audience. I made my mistakes. But in all of my years of public life, I have never profited from public service. I've earned every cent. And in all of my years of public life, I have never obstructed justice. And I think, too, that I can say that in my years of public life, that I welcome this kind of examination, because people have got to know whether or not their president is a crook. Well, I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I've got.
Because people got to know, is your president a crook? Because that's important to the American people. I welcome this investigation. That same question hangs in the air today. People got to know. It's the Nixon rule. People got to know, is their president a crook? Man, if you listen to Cohen today, who is a crook? I mean, Michael, look, no defense of Michael Cohen's life from this guy. Michael Cohen, in my view, has spent his adult life as a criminal. He has been working the edges. He has been misusing his law degree. He has been avoiding tax. Look, the guy is no good. But this is the kind of person that Donald Trump surrounds himself with and has on in his inner circle, because Donald Trump has operated as a business person as a crook. And it's a real question that's before Congress right now. It's the Nixon question. People got to know, is your president a crook? We'll be back here on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota, with the afternoon repartee, and you can give your input at that 952-946-6205. We'll chat a bit about that here after the break. Welcome back to the repartee. It's a big day in the nation. This is one of those days I think that's going to really mark the Trump administration and kind of the American spirit, right? There's this question raised by Nixon long ago. Is your president a crook? Now, look, I think all of our presidents have done a number of things, because it's part of the function of the United States military, that are rise to the level of criminal behavior. It's there's a unacceptable accepted level of bad behavior on the moral scale. Then there's the legal scale in the United States, and there's the behavior of a president. And if a president has acted in such a ways that they're not inside the law, there's a couple of remedies. There's two primary. One is the person is indicted. Now, we have an opinion of the current Justice Department that a sitting president cannot be indicted. Should not be indicted. That's there's all kinds of argument for why this is. That seems to be the prevailing fact. So the other remedy, if not criminal indictment to deal with someone who breaks the law, is that Congress should use its power of oversight as an equal branch of the government to give oversight to a president and to remove the president from the protection of the presidency if they have committed acts that are criminal and impeachable, misdemeanors, high crimes. If they commit those crimes, rather than being indicted as a regular citizen because they're in a particular function and role, and we want to preserve that role of the presidency, then the other option is then available, and that is impeachment. This is why people like me have been arguing for a long time that Donald Trump's actions have already risen to the level of impeachment. He should be impeached. Then he should be tried, and if it's determined by a charge and a conviction in the Senate, then he would be removed from office and then could be indicted. That's how it goes. So I don't think it's going to go the other way. I don't think he's going to first be indicted and then he's going to be impeached. I think it's going to follow that other pattern. I think it needs to. And what's happening today with Michael Cohen showing up and putting on the record, on television, and in the minds and the ears of the people on the Oversight Committee of Congress. Understand this. That's what the committee is set out to do. It is the Oversight Committee. Is putting on trial, not in a legal sense, in a public sense. It's basically part of helping the American population and Congress to determine if it should be pursuing impeachment. Now, the Republicans, I was glad to see the Republicans, Brett, come out as the old school Republicans today. You didn't have a chance to hear it, but if you can watch it tonight, boy, you know what you're going to say to yourself? You're going to say, oh, there's the Republicans I remember. Because here's what they were saying. Mr. Cohen, did you lie And he said, yes, I did lie. And then they said, then that makes you a liar and you should not be believed about anything. That's the way Republicans used to talk. Right? If you lie, it makes you a liar. And if you're a liar, you're not trusted. That's how they used to talk. You used to hear that from them all the time. Man, that was like par for the course, especially for the social conservative Republicans. Lying mattered. Remember that? Oh boy, the good old days. They were back. They're back in the moral saddle. They're back in the time when they say, "Oh, you lie, you're a liar, therefore untrustworthy, and we're not going to trust you any longer." I wonder who else that applies to. Is that going to apply to the president? Right? If the point is, if you lie and you admit that you're a liar, then you're not trusted on anything. Boy, because they used to say that about all kinds of politicians. You know who I remember? It's kind of a bit of a flashback. I remember them saying that Barack Obama said you could keep your doctor in the new healthcare plan. And somebody yelled out in the middle of an address to Congress in the State of the Union, "You lie!" There it was, the moral outrage of the liars. You said something that turned out not to be true. You are untrustworthy. You are almost an un-American kind of posture, and there's no way you should be president. They're back at it. How long do you think they're going to hold on to the, if you lie, you're not trustworthy? Because Donald Trump just lies all the time. It's incredible. And the thing that they're saying Cohen lied about was the crimes that he committed, many of those of which Donald Trump is called individual one. So if he is a liar covering up his crimes and therefore as a criminal and somebody who has been indicted as a criminal, then he should not be trusted. They implicate the very president they're trying to defend. It's just unbelievable what they're doing. So here it is, Cohen, who has no real credibility as like a good guy. But what Donald Trump has done for his life, his adult life, is to surround himself with criminals. And I do believe that his financial fraud of the Trump organization is going to end up in a RICO charge. His family, the people that are associated with his organization, that's the Racketeering Influenced and Corruption Organizations Act. I think that's what they're going to get him on. That's how it's going to go. All right. Hey, Randy from Coon Rapids, how are you thinking about this? Were you watching the congressional investigations today?
Well, Doug, I'm even more. First, I was embarrassed for this ridiculous committee. Now I'm almost embarrassed for you, too.
Oh, thank you.
We have a guy that was convicted of lying and is going to jail.
Yeah.
So we're going to drag that's the guy. We want to drag him back in.
Yeah.
To get information out of him.
That's what you do with criminals, Randy.
Believe anything he says.
Randy, that's what you do with criminals, dude. That's what happens all the time. When someone confesses to their crime, then you're dealing with a criminal. So when the criminal tells you, "Oh, you know who else did it with me? This guy," you don't say, "Well, boy, you're not trustworthy." How in the world does somebody being found guilty and pleading guilty to their crimes make them not trustworthy? This is the whole point. If you're making my exact point that Republicans want to say that if you lie, you're untrustworthy. Randy, do you honestly believe, and can you honestly say that Donald Trump has not lied to the American people?
From what I have heard right now, I think Donald Trump is still, in my mind, one of the best presidents.
That's not what I'm asking you.
About anything.
It's not what I'm asking you.
Things that you guys
do you
say,
believe he knew?
Maybe he might have had misinformation,
Randy,
because the information is given to him.
Randy, that's just look, dude. You can there's a lot of arguments worth making to support Donald Trump. You've made them on this show. I'm glad that you do. But
today. What is he doing? Do you know what he's doing today?
I do know what he's doing today, and it's a nightmare. But Randy, just let me finish this line of thinking. Yeah, let me just finish this line of thinking. Randy?
No other president.
Randy, of course no. Randy, I'm going to make this comment, and then we're going to go to Mark. The reason no other president has done what he's doing is because what he's doing is ridiculous. He's giving away the presidency and all the power and influence of the United States to Kim Jong-un. The whole thing he's doing in Vietnam is something that no other president would or has done nor should do. There is hardly a point, from my perspective, in which the President of the United States is not demeaning and underperforming the presidency. And this whole business about bring in a liar, then you're going to listen to him, it's just outrageous. Hey, Mark. Mark, I need a break. You know I'm riled up when I'm like, I need an emotional break, and I'm going to go to Mark from Fridley, right? That's really got to be, I've really got to be on the edge.
Well, I'm embarrassed for Randy, too. And, there's a couple of things here. Now, this is politics.
Yeah.
So, you're trying to talk about the most honest liar, or who's the most honest liar.
Sure.
And a problem I have with people, politicians, are if you ask a liar if they're lying, why would you expect the truth? Now,
that's a great question.
This guy, okay, for one thing, Randy, here's a question for you. Andrew McCabe is a Republican. Robert Mueller's a Republican. Jim Comey is a Republican. Brennan is a Republican. Sessions is a Republican. These are Republicans that are going after him. So, explain that to me. And then I just want to go back to, people are, they're not objective. I've got a quote here. There was a Star Tribune op-ed from Norm Coleman right before the election in 2016. And let me read just a little bit of what Norm Coleman said in this op-ed. He said, "I will never vote for Donald Trump. I won't vote for Donald Trump because of who he isn't. He isn't a Republican. He isn't a conservative. He isn't a truth teller. I won't vote for Donald Trump because of who he is, a bigot, a misogynist, a fraud, a bully." And he talked about, we have been deceived by a con artist. Now, these are the words of
Right.
a former Republican senator. And as soon as Donald Trump got elected, he fell in love with Donald Trump. The same thing happened with people like Lindsey Graham, who referred to Donald Trump as an idiot, a bully, a con artist. He said, "I don't think Donald Trump is a reliable Republican conservative. I think his foreign policy is ill-conceived and would be dangerous for the entire world." Then he gets elected, and everybody loves the guy.
Yeah.
So you have to be authentic.
Yeah, I hear you. And this is to Donald Trump's credit. His argument has been all along in the media and in politics, winning carries value. If you win, all those naysayers are going to come around to your side. This is true for sports teams. This is true for people that win awards for their artwork or for their music or for the movies. This is what happens to politicians. Now, I'm open to a Republican who would say, you know what, I was wrong about the guy. I thought that he was going to be insincere and a nightmare and a danger to American security. Turns out I was wrong. I didn't support him then. I do support him now. The thing that throws me, Mark, and I'm sure it throws you, is he's been even worse on those issues that they said were the things that they stood against. And then they'll make the argument, well, he's doing these other things that we like him to do. And the person, someone like me, my problem is not only do I think that he's immoral as a person and that the way he behaves and acts demeans the presidency, but I believe that his policies are disastrous. Now, if I was someone who thought his policies were good and were beneficial and that I wanted, I don't know where I would sit. I guess I would find myself in that moral conundrum of I really like what he's doing. I'm glad the bully and the evil man is on my side, but I don't know if I can reconcile that with what I want out of a person. So I want to give to Randy or to anybody else, any of the Republicans who feel torn about this. I'm sure that's hard. But I'll tell you what, if your choice really is to just demean the presidency and to have a grifter and criminals and salacious characters running the White House and running the Trump organization at the same time and not separating the two from each other, it's just so unbelievably outrageous to hear these Republicans try to take the moral high ground when they're talking to Cohen and then say about the president, well, he's doing good for me. I guess it's okay that he's a liar. Hey, this is AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota, the repartee. Gary, if you can hold on, we'll get to you right after the break. So stick with us here over the break. We'll be back in a second. Hey, Brett, you know what we're going to have to do? We're going to have to make sure all the people at the Blue State Ball know how to say the repartee. I think as we go around, we should just say to one another, hey, do you want to enter into a little repartee? A little
You know what we're doing at the Blue State
banter.
Ball?
What are we
Besides
doing?
Hunter, who's DJing, we're going to go around to some of our callers and have them record those little intros for us. So,
So get your radio voice on, friends.
you know who for sure we got to get to do one, of course, is Gary, but we'll get some other guys as well.
Oh, Gary. Hey, and you know what we should do? We should record people early in the evening and then record them again later in the evening and see how much fun they had. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do it. So, hey, that's Saturday, friends. I hope you can join us, the Blue State Ball, from ball gowns to blue jeans, and put those two together if you want, or, be somewhere on the range. Hey, Gary, looking forward to seeing you on Saturday, and thanks for holding on over the break. What's your thoughts here on this?
I want to meet you, too. Hey, I was watching them Republicans in them hearings today, and I was yelling and cursing at the TV at them Republicans, and my neighbor said, geez, calm down, you're going to have a heart attack. I'll tell you.
Your neighbor?
Here we are with, I remember how Daryl Isis, how vicious he was during the Obama years with all those hearings of people in the Obama administration, those trumped-up charges. And then Clinton, 8 years of BS. And, all we found was Monica on that. No crimes, actually. Anyways, but what I want to say is those Republicans, they stick the Bible in our face, and all they really worship, what they worship is money. They'll do anything for money. And anyways, here we have Trump's former crony, his number one yes man, his personal attorney. When they attack him as a liar and a crook and everything, they're attacking Trump. They're making the case
Totally.
for us.
Making the case. I couldn't agree more. It's this whole thing where you say, look, criminals tend to hang around with and hire other criminals, right? This is why not only was it Donald Trump, but Donald Trump's lawyer, criminal, the chairman of his campaign, criminal, the vice chairman of his campaign, a criminal, his national security advisor, a criminal, a number of his consultants, and advisors, Roger Stone, Papadopoulos, criminal. Like, Donald Trump has surrounded himself with criminals over the course of his life. It's been known throughout his business organization, and it's been known throughout his charity. And Cohen today coming in there and saying, look, I can show you just the places where he's been a con man and he's been a criminal and he has acted in ways that are racist. I actually thought that racist thing was something he probably should have left out for the purpose of this, because as morally reprehensible as it is, racism, you can be a racist in this country. I wish you weren't. I think it's immoral, but you get to be one. Now, people shouldn't vote for you to be the president if you are one, no doubt about that, but you do get to be one. But these other things about being a con man and being a criminal and being someone who uses threats, for Cohen to say that he believes that he had issued more than 500 threats at the direction of Donald Trump to people that would oppose him, shows you what kind of person this is, that Cohen would do this. And he's the person that Donald Trump hires and pays and stays in constant right-hand contact with. So the crazy part of the argument is, well, you're such a bad guy. Why would we believe you when you tell us that Donald Trump is a bad guy? The very fact that Donald Trump had this guy as his lawyer tells you that, or Donald Trump is so incompetent, he didn't know. I mean, he's just a good guy making his way, doing the best he can. He didn't know Michael Cohen was a guy who did this kind of stuff. And when Donald Trump brought up, maybe they're looking into Michael Cohen's taxi coin certificates or whatever that nonsense is. Like, boy, look that direction is criminal behavior. Was Donald Trump saying, I know he's a criminal. I know he acts in ways that are illegal, and he's my lawyer. It's just so outrageous to hear the self-righteousness of these people and why they're doing it. I do not understand why these Republicans wouldn't say, look, if what you're saying is true, we need to get to the bottom. Here's the argument the Republicans should make. If this is true, Mr. Cohen, we need to investigate this. Let's find out if it's true. Because if it's true, then we should do something about it, because we don't want liars running this country or speaking before Congress or speaking before or addressing Congress at State of the Union addresses. Like, you think it's a big deal and defiles the legitimacy of the committee to bring a known liar in front of you? Well, if what you're saying is we have a known liar that's addressing Congress, that's even worse. So the Republicans should say, let's get to the bottom of this, and they should fight it on its merits, right? They should say, well, Mr. Cohen, if this is true, we're going to find out. And if it's not true, then that will prove you to be a liar. But they don't say that. Not once that I heard today. Maybe something changed in the last hour since I've been on the air. Maybe they've had a change of heart and have said, oh, you know what? We need to find out if Donald Trump did break the law. We need to find out if Donald Trump did ask you to, or did know that you were going to lie to Congress and gave you the wink and the nudge and said that that was okay. This question that was asked early on today of Michael Cohen went like this. Michael Cohen, you have said repeatedly that you did all these things for Donald Trump. You knew all these things about Donald Trump, and yet you worked for him for 10 years. What changed? Why did you change your mind? And Cohen said, well, lots of things. Helsinki, when he stood with Putin and believed Putin over our own intelligence agencies. Charlottesville, his coursing of the conversation in the country, the way he treats people through his public statements as the president of the United States via Twitter. You know what it was, Cohen? I think he should have owned up on it. The FBI raided my office and my hotel where I was living when my apartment was under reconstruction after, when it was closed after a water main break. That's why I changed my mind, because I got arrested. And once I got arrested, I realized the jig was up. And once the jig was up, I realized I wasn't going to keep keeping things going for Donald Trump anymore. I wish Cohen had said something like that, because that's what's true. You know why he changed? Because he got caught. And all these people who support Donald Trump because they think he's a winner, to Mark's point earlier, that then switch and came to his side, they are going to jump off of that Trump bandwagon the minute he is found guilty, because as soon as they've got the goods on you, they're going to bail out. That's what's going to happen. And look, if you think Donald Trump is a good president, you're just going to be heartbroken that a good president was taken down in these ways. Back in the early 1970s, Richard Nixon said, the people got to know if their president's a crook. I think we found out the answer to that today, and the answer is yes. It's the Minnesota Progressive Repartee on AM 950, the Progressive Voice of Minnesota. I'm Doug Patrick.